If retiring or resigning from the government employee pension fund is keeping you up at night, this video is to demystify it and help you make the right decision. You've probably spoken to someone about it, and if you've been to the government employee pension fund, they've had a hard sell for you to stay in the fund. However, if you've spoken to a financial advisor, they've had a hard sell for you to come out of the fund. You've had many years of hard work, and you now need to make your retirement benefit you and your family as you're supposed to. So I look forward to just taking one step at a time. We'll look at resignation, the pros and cons, retirement, the pros and cons, and then I'll give you some questions to ask and some things to write down on a piece of paper to help you make that decision. So let's define retirement. Well, when you get to a certain age or under certain conditions, you can retire from the GEPF. And what that means is you'll get some money out in gratuity, and then you'll get an income for the rest of your life. So if we define resigning, what it means is you're voluntarily leaving the government employee pension fund. You're able to take those funds or transfer them to an approved pension fund. From there, you will choose to get an income every month. However, the big difference is the government employee pension fund, if you retire, you guarantee that income for life. However, if you resign, you then take on the responsibility of those funds, and you don't have a guaranteed income for life, but you can manage that income, and it can definitely last for your lifetime. Should you have any pre-1998 contributions to the GEPF, this would be an additional tax-free portion that you can withdraw either from your gratuity or from your 1/3 cash portion. So I just want to go through some of the pros of retiring and then the cons of retiring from the GEPF. Well, the first pro, if you retire from the government employee pension fund, it's an income for life, a guaranteed income for life, increasing every year, determined by the GEPF. One of the second benefits of that is, should you pass away, 50% of that income will be paid to your spouse for the rest of their lifetime. And if you have a special needs disabled child, they will be able to claim that 50% too. But it doesn't extend to anybody else apart from that. Another benefit is the medical aid subsidy. So should you stay in the GEPF, they will subsidize your medical aid contributions. The last benefit I would say is the lump sum gratuity that you'll be paid. And this is if you've got more than 10 years contributions to the GEPF, you're able to take that. Now remember, the first 550,000 Rand is tax-free. Thereafter, you'll pay tax on it. However, there is that magical pre-1998 contributions that can add a huge benefit to you within that. And here are some of the cons of retiring. You have limited control to your investment. The government employee pension funds will manage that, will pay you the increase that they determine. Whether the market has done really well or poorly, you will get that guaranteed income. So there's no control there. The second downside is there's no legacy left for your family. Should you pass away while you're in retirement in the GEPF, those funds are absorbed into the GEPF and not paid out to your children or your spouse. And lastly is the reduced 1/3 payment that you can get out in cash. If you take the gratuity, it is not always less than the 1/3 that you would have if you were to resign. If we look at some of the pros of resigning from the GEPF, well, the first one is you will have more control over those funds. Where they're invested, if they're in South Africa, out of South Africa, you have a lot more control. And which goes hand in hand as the second benefit is you can benefit from potentially higher returns. If the market does better, you can increase your income higher than what the government employee pension fund might do. That is all determined on the markets though. The other thing is one of the major benefits of resigning is that there's a legacy left over to your family. If you've got 40 years of hard work and you pass away 10 years into retirement, those funds, if you resign, will go to your family and they will have that to build upon. However, as we've talked about, if you retire in the fund, those funds are absorbed by the fund. And lastly, when you resign, you're able to take 1/3 of those funds in cash, which is more than your gratuity. And that's a very important point. And there is tax with regards to that, whether it's the right or wrong thing to do. But that's something you sit down and you do the tax calculation for your retirement with someone like a financial planner. Now's the time when I want you to get a piece of paper, grab a pen, and these are the factors that I talk to people about whether they resign or retire. And the first one is, do you have a spouse? Do you have dependents? Is there people in your family that would need your income should you pass away? Do you want to leave a financial legacy? This is another thing. You have to ask yourself, is that something that's important to you or is it not? What is your cost of living? It's really important that you know exactly what you need every month and whether your retirement income will be able to cover that or not. So what are your medical costs? And what is your health like? Because that is an important thing to factor into your planning. Do you have an alternative income? Does your spouse have an alternative income or a side hustle? This is really important. When it comes to tax planning, if you've got an alternative income and you've got your retirement income on top of that, it really lifts your taxable income really high. Whereas if you could manage it in a living annuity, you could keep that income low while your side hustle income is high, and you can always adjust it in the future. Do you have pre-1998 contributions? The Government Employee Pension Fund do not put that on their statement. It's a calculation that you need to do to figure it out. It's very simple and something that you need to actually go and work it out to figure out what is best for you and how much you can have out tax-free. If you have any debts, it's important you list them and the interest rates so that you can plan for your retirement as best as you can. You do not want to go into retirement holding on any debt. And do you have a financial planner that has your best interest in heart? I have seen serious conflicts of interest here. I've seen advisors earn well over 100,000 Rand for some planning, which wasn't necessarily the best thing for the client, or might have been, but they weren't advised properly. And I just think that's really important that you make sure you have someone on your team asking the right questions so that you go in the right direction, because it's your money and it's got to work for you and your family and your retirement. A couple other things to have written down on this piece of paper is, what is your after-tax income if you retire or you resign? What is your net worth if you retire or you resign? And what tax will you likely be paying versus one or the other, retire versus resign? What is it that you want to be doing when you're in retirement? How do you want to be living? Do you want to be working? Do you want to be staying at home? Have you got a side hustle? These are very important things to determine which way to go. And lastly, it's really important you figure out your individual needs, because there is no blanket rule. If you have this, retire is the answer. If you have that, resign is the answer. That is just not applicable here. It is very complicated. And every person I've dealt with has always had a different outcome according to their individual needs. So it's a good idea to sit down with someone, have some really deep and meaningful conversations about how you plan to retire. What is it that you love in your life? What are you proud of? Who do you want to spend time with in retirement? These are like really, really important questions to help you figure out whether resigning or retiring is the right thing for you. Lastly, I'd just like to say, write all the numbers down, get it on paper, ignore all the salespeople telling you what to do. And what I do if there's a really difficult decision is I pray about it. When you have peace, you know that's usually the right answer. If you don't have anybody to talk to, I would love to be there to guide you through the situation. You can click on the link below, which can schedule an appointment. You can look at our website and find our contact details. Get in touch, have a cup of coffee, and figure out what is right for you.